Okay, so we're going to pick up here the next grading video of bringing the surface from our data shortcut into our design drawing, cleaning it up, and getting it all labeled like we want it labeled. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I got mine on my grading sheet. I work in a viewport in Paperspace because what I do is I do all my drawing in one spot. I know a lot of people will take this and they'll copy it 10 times and they'll have a site plan and a grading plan and this plan and that plan. And now when you make that change, you got to change everything. I do mine all on top of each other in one spot and just work in Paperspace and freeze and thaw viewports, layers that I need so I can make this work. Okay, so in an earlier video I put my divised line between the two drainage areas, and I labeled those drainage areas while I was here before I got started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to bring in my surface and create it and put it in the right place. So the first thing I need to do is I need to make sure that this drawing is pointing to the correct data shortcut folder. In Civil 3D, you go down here in your prospector and you slide down to data shortcuts, and it lets you associate this project and set your working folder and such. So basically you have to tell it where you put stuff. So I'm going to go in here and tell it that I'm in this folder. This is my folder. You need to figure out where yours needs to point. How you set folders up, you'll have to figure that one out. If you need some help, I can tell you how to do that. So I'm going to select that folder so it has my surfaces in it, as you can see over here in that side. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to associate this project to the current drawing. The reason I do that is if I don't do that, the next time I do it, it'll default back to whatever drawing was in there, and so I have to do this again and again every time I want to check stuff. So right now, right now I'm just going to have these two surfaces in here. I've already brought my existing surface in. When the drawing was set up and laid out, we already brought that surface in, so that works fine. So I'm going to right click on my drawing, I'm going to create a reference, and then now I do care what layer it's on because I'm in my design drawing and it does matter. So I have a GT Contours Major label. I'll put it there, and I care what style it is. It's my final style. You do whatever you set up for yours here. Voila, there it is. Now I need to come in here and label the contours. First thing you need to do is go to Settings, right click on your drawing, hit Edit Drawing Settings, and just like all your lines and such that you do in regular drawing in AutoCAD has layers, so does all your styles and all your labeling and all your pieces and parts in Civil 3D. And if you go to Settings, you can go through and see what all is in here, all the different things that you do. We're fixing to label a 10 surface. Okay, so I'm going to tell it what layer I want it to go on, and it's GP Text Contours, Major Contours. Okay, and you asked me, well, why didn't you do that when you did the surface? Well, if I'm just doing an individual object like that surface and I'm not doing anything else with that command, I'll just set it when I go. But on this labeling, I'm going to put a bunch of labels in, so I don't want to have to set the layer or change the layer as I work. So we're going to apply that. Then we're going to go to Annotate, Add Labels, click on here, go down to Surface, go down Contour Single. Now you could do this multiple and go boop and do one and boop and do one, but what happens is when you do that, all of these contours are connected with a line, and so if you want to move that label over 5 feet because it's into something, you have to grab the line and move everything. So I individually label, and it don't take me but just a minute to label them all. So if you ask me what I want to label, I don't like my snaps on because I just like to have freedom to put these where I want to put them. Oops, and I have the wrong style, so I should have checked my style from existing, because existing doesn't have a box around it and final does for me. You do it however you want to. Now what I can do is I can just so you'll know, you can right click Contour Label Properties, the box pops up, and you can tell it that it's the right one here, and so it'll change it. Or you could have just relabeled it. Okay. Alright, so now we'll label Now we'll label everything. So this is our pond that we created. Contours across here. Just throw some labels in here so when people look at the drawing they can see what contours we have, what elevation they're at. You know, there's no rhyme or reason where you put them. You just put them where they look good, and how many ever you think needs to be in there. You could put them on the ends and around and everything. That's up to you. Okay, so we've got a 103-foot contour going around here, going around here. What I should have done is I messed up this surface. This is a good point to see. Contours can't tie on the contours in reality. So what really should happen is that I got 103 running here, but this 103 contour here should come here and go around the pond and create basically like a top of pond. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to, it won't let me do it in the middle of something. Got to kill a command. We're going to go back to our design drawing that we worked off of in our source file. Okay. And we're going to make some modifications and bring them back into here, into this drawing, so we can fix that. And we do a lot of this as we go, as we fix things. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to, on the surface properties, I'm just going to turn that surface off because I don't need it right now. What I am going to do is I'm going to kill this grading object right here because this is outside and tied to existing. That's where I messed up, so I'm going to take that off right there. Now that's a feature line now. It's not a polyline anymore, so I can't just offset that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a, turn my snaps back on, make sure they're on endpoint because I did something else. So I'm going to just draw me a polyline around here like so. Whoops. Okay. Now I'm going to offset the top of that. I want to make it 5 foot flat. That's plenty of room as long as everything gets back. And I'm going to break it at the apparent intersection of that line and that line. And go that way. And break it right here. Okay. Erase that. I want to check the elevation because I want that elevation to be 103 when it should have been. I just needed to make sure it was. Okay. Alright, so that's correct. Now I want to break this right here. Okay, and I want to delete this line right here. Alright, because I don't want that going across there. And now go ahead and change this over to that layer so I know I want to work with it. So now what I want is I want this to go from here to here. Because, well, actually, what I'm going to do is I don't want a 103 to cross here either. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of cheat. Okay, I'm going to offset this 1.5. Okay. Actually, I'm going to do 2.5 so it's in the middle. Okay, so what we have to do sometimes is we have to cheat Civil 3D a little bit, because if I make this 103 and this 103, when it tries to create the contour lines, it's going to try to cross them, or it's going to join these together, or it's going to be really squirrely in here. But what I can do is I can come in here and I can create this line in the middle, and we can take it and give it an elevation literally a 1/10 or 100th difference. Okay, so now what happens is when those triangles come in here, instead of it being flat across here, there's a difference in elevation. I mean, what's a 100th going to do to your surface? So now what I can do is, now I can come in here and I can create a feature line that goes from here at that, and then it's up 100th. Okay, and then I can just connect it right there anywhere at that, and then I'll break this one right here. Whoops, double clicked it instead of. Now I can join this one and this one back to that one, and that's created that around there. So basically what I did is I put a flat spot here. I had to put a cheater line in here so that that wouldn't cross, and sometimes you have to do that. You have to create a feature line across here so that your curves work right. Let's look at our surface again then, so when we do that. So now we're going to go back here to our surface, we're going to right click on it, and we're going to turn the triangles back on. Okay, so it's existing in triangles. And you see how that's caught in here? Let's see if this fixes a little bit when we add this in here. And if not, we're going to do something here. So I'm going to add the contours that I just messed with right there. Okay. All right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to regen, rebuild. Okay. And see how that all cleaned up really nice and cool in there. Now I'm going back to grading creation tools. Now, I haven't been in here. You would think, we know that we're going to default to tie to existing, and we should be able to go right here. No, it doesn't remember that tie to existing went to the existing surface. So you got to tell it what surface every time. If you don't, it'll tell you got to tell it a surface. 3 to 1, click it, offset right there. And that grading object was pasted in to our surface, so if we rebuild it, it'll pick it up. Okay, and so still have a little bit of weirdness going on right here with this surface, because see all these lines trying to go on top of each other, because that's trying to be at 103 and 103 because that existing contour is 103. So what happens if we come in here? So what's happening is it's trying to go back to itself, and this 103 contour right here is kind of kicking it, and so it's confused itself right here on how it's supposed to work. It don't know what to do right here. So what we need to do then is we need to zoom out so we can find our grading object. Look for our little green dot. There it is. So we can erase our green dot. We can rebuild our surface. See, it goes away when you get here. It's when you tie to existence. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here. We're going to break this right there at that point, parent intersection. And we're going to see if it won't extend to a grading line, so I have to create a false line because I went too far when I did that. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to break it on this side right here, right there. Now I'm going to erase that. Now I'm going to rebuild, and it got weird right there because probably what happened was when I extended that into that, it went down to a weird elevation. Yep, see, and I didn't care. I didn't try to find where that end was. I knew it was one end or the other, and that one looked okay, and that one looked to 0. So I know that one is supposed to be 103. Okay, now rebuild my surface, and it looks good. Now we can come in here and grade. Now that since we have this open, we don't have to redo all the settings again. We're just going to do this side, and we're going to do this side. Let's see if it looks better now. It's still acting a little weird right here because so we're going to take and we're going to do a couple things. We're going to see if we raise this just a little. I don't normally do just 100th. I just tried 100th. Let's just do a 10th to that. Now let's rebuild it. It didn't make any difference. So sometimes what happens is we're going to take this surface, we're going to turn it off. Sometimes what happens is when you add and do some stuff to the surfaces and these grading objects and they're close like that, if you modify them, sometimes they want to cross over and do some stuff. So I want to see what it looks like. Okay, it looks okay. Turn triangles on. Okay, so what's happening is it's in this because it's trying to create a 103 contour onto itself because it's so flat in there. And I don't know that I can really fix this one. Hopefully nobody will say anything and it won't go too bad. So we're going to turn this off. Surface properties, turn the tie to existing back off. Turn this back on. Turn our, with the triangles because we got to clean it. We may have to clean it back up, and we do. So it's just going to be some thick lines over here. When it draws out, you'll see in the other. So we're going to edit and delete lines that we did earlier to clean the surface up right there. And that should be the only place. Usually it's only right there where you modified it that you had to change it. Okay. And rebuild. Just make sure it's all good. And some of this is because like I said, it's flat here, it's flat here. It just don't like it, and it's having a hard time figuring it out. So, but we did update our surface and at least fixed our tie-in, so it'll look better. So we're gonna just close that, and then should do just like an XREF. It should say, hey, do you want to sync your data shortcut? And it will, because that's a different drawing I was using for something. And see, it says synchronize because it realized how you made changes. So we're going to synchronize it and clean it up. And see, it cleaned it up. It's a little rough right here, but it's okay. Now, okay, it didn't like us right here. Let's go back to I'm going to close this because I don't need it anymore. Let's go back to our drawing because see, it crossed over. It tied those. That shouldn't tie right there. So I'm going to clean that up. And it's not that big a deal. Let me just see what it did right there. Okay, so what's happening is because it's so close to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to erase our grading object right there. And we're just going to take this and move it back here and regen the surface. Rebuild the surface, not regen it, rebuild it. Now it kind of goes away. And so what I can do is I can do this and this and rebuild. And now that looks okay. And now if we do our grading, now because we closed the drawing, we got to go back here and set that. See, I'll show you. If you go 3 to 1 and try to hit it, it'll go, hey, you got to have a target surface. And it'll ask you for the target surface. So if you forget it, it'll tell you forgot it. Okay, and now rebuild. And now it cleaned it up, except for that little crazy part right there. And it's trying to go in both directions on both sides of that. So we're going to delete this line right here so we don't have those lines in there. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a little bit of surface trying to come in here. This one's different. It's weird. So of course it would be if I'm trying to do a video on it. It's going to be a little weird. We're going to synchronize it. We can get it to look pretty much right. So it followed 103 down to there. It shouldn't have. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What I may need to do is, I think what I'm going to do is, right here, is let's zoom out so our triangles will show up so we know we can get rid of that one and get rid of this side. Okay, because this is giving me a problem when I grade back, when I grade to existing. And this line right here, I'm going to see properties. It's 103. That's trying to put 103 back to itself, which we've done. So we're going to do some hand stuff in here because we're going to break this right here. And we're going to delete this. We're going to break this right here. Okay, that was a polyline. That's what happened right there. That's a polyline still. Is that what that is? No, it's a feature line. It shouldn't have let me broke it like that, but it did. Okay. All right. Let me rebuild a surface. So we'll see what it looks like. See, y'all just bear with me. Okay, so that looks better. So bring the surface to the front. Okay, so you really should have a contour line right through here somewhere. So let's do some, annotate, add label. I'm just kind of, hey, this is design. This is what happens. 103.1, 103.5, and that's 103 right there. So what I need to do is, I'm going to break this right here. And feature line, home. No, that's our 5 foot offset we just did, wasn't it? Okay. From here to there was a 5 foot offset. So that is our 103, and it's running here. And our problem is, so what we're going to do is we're going to have to come in here. This surface is a little different. Sorry if I'm kind of mumbling through. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Okay. Okay. So I didn't grab that. If you don't grab this sucker when you break these feature lines, if you don't break them and tell it your first point is here and there, sometimes it'll take too much off, and it did. So what I'm going to do now is, that's good, is I'm going to rebuild this surface, and I'm going to look at it, bring it forward. Okay, so it looks good here. 103 is good here. 103 is good here. I'm going to put that surface back to the back. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grade from here and grade from here, and then I'm going to tie these in like this. So what I'll do is I'll go back to here and go back to 3 to 1, and it's going to probably ask me for my target surface because I didn't set one. And I'm going to click here. Okay, and I'm going to click here. Okay, and then I'm going to rebuild my surface. Okay, so now what happened is I should have surface. Alright, so this polyline right here, so what needs to happen is I need to have a polyline that goes from right here to the end of that one, because that's the end of that surface right there. And that will be at 103. Whoops. So if I come in here and add that in there, and edit surface and delete these lines right here and these lines right here, I bring the surface to the front, and I got a yellow line all the way around to there. Now that looks right. Let's edit surface, delete line. Okay, so see what you have to do is, I did a lot of that to get to nowhere, right? Something's wrong right here. Let's see here, surface properties. I gotta see what's happening right here because it didn't like something right there. Okay. When it went back, try to go back to existing grade, I'm so close to existing grade here, didn't want to do anything. And so with my surface, and let's turn it off. Surface, put on final contours. Okay, that's right. Okay, I just need to make sure that this ran through here like it was supposed to, and this ran through here. So now my contours look right. Okay, and this comes here and it jumps over here, so everything looks right now. Okay. All right. Now the only thing is, you see how that didn't follow the curve of the line right there? So what you can do is you come in here, feature line. I just create me a feature line right here and let it pick the line right here and along that. If I do that right there, then that will, and I'll add that feature line to my surface and rebuild my surface. That cleans that up a little bit better because AutoCAD can't do circles. It's trying to do straight line triangle, so it gets a little weird. All right, so that looks a lot better for our surface. All right, so we'll close our surface here. And so you do have to do some hand grading sometimes. AutoCAD can't, I mean, Civil 3D is not a perfect program, so it does have to do some hand grading in there. Okay, so we got our surface in. Got it labeled. We need to put a couple labels here on this one that we added right here. So add labels, surface, contour single. Put one right here, one right here, one right here, and one here and one there. All right. So now we're labeling. All right, that's a good place. We'll stop right here on this video and pick back up and finish labeling that.